Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Jackson. I'm the Executive Director of the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. I'm just going to share with you a little bit about our experience in piloting the Nonprofit Primary Project. As many of you remember, we all gathered in Washington about a year and a half ago at the Nonprofit Congress, and at that event New Hampshire volunteered to attempt this project, which has ended up being a great success, and it's been really it's been a lot of work at times, but it's been also a lot of fun. I want to tell you a little bit about the project. Our goal was to engage the presidential candidates as they flood into New Hampshire at primary season in a dialogue about the sector. We asked them three basic questions. If they could share some examples of how they've been involved with the nonprofit sector, how would they partner with the nonprofit sector if elected president, and given their vision, what are some strategies that they would employ to strengthen the nonprofit sector. So the questions were real basic. They were all educational. We were trying to get from the candidates a sense of their awareness of the nonprofit sector and engage the audience where they were speaking in a discussion of that nature. Some of our highlights from the event, actually there were many highlights. It started off a little slow. We prepared this project by inviting every single candidate. We trained our nonprofit leaders in the art of bird dogging. We had sessions on the law and how you do this. I think we had 3 training sessions. So we got everyone geared up. We got everyone educated. We talked about bird dogging, which is simply you get to an event, you get up close, you go in pairs so that you can have several people raising their hand when the candidate takes questions. Some of the events were at big settings such as parks and community places. Other events were living room chat style things. If you're at a big event, you wear bright clothing. Like I said, you get up front, you raise your hand, you keep your hand up, and the candidates catch your eye, and almost every single time they would ask us our questions, so that was fun. But back to the highlights. There were numerous highlights. It got off to a slow start, like I said, but Governor Huckabee took us up on our invitation. He met with about 60 of us. He was the first one that we got in a small setting. He didn't get the question at first. He wasn't sure. He wasn't thinking about the nonprofit sector as being a unified sector. He understood the arts and the human services and the environment, but he wasn't thinking in terms of us being a unified sector. But as time went on, he opened up in the discussion, and it was a very good event. A real highlight of the event was we attended an event with Senator John Edwards, and it was at a function in New Hampshire called Politics and Eggs, and it's typically all business people, but we, about 5 or 6 of us went. We raised our hands. Senator Edwards called on one of our volunteers, and when we asked him about the nonprofit sector, he did what a lot of the other candidates have done. He kept the answer very sort of global and lofty. I think the nonprofit sector is wonderful and we should support it. What was interesting is following his sort of lofty answer, someone in the audience stood up, not related to our project, a businesswoman from New Hampshire, and she said, "I'm not satisfied with that answer. I'm on a lot of boards. I think the nonprofit sector in New Hampshire is a very vital sector. It does incredibly hard work and it's under-resourced." And Senator Edwards stepped back and said, "Oh, let me get into this a little bit more." And he actually gave a very comprehensive answer. After that answer, there were 5 or 6 other questions not related to our project. And Senator Edwards looped it back. It turns out that every question was being asked had a connection to the nonprofit sector. So that was a real exciting success. We also had other candidates where we sat with Senator McCain. Again, he took the question up sort of 50,000-foot view, and we got him in a discussion about specifics he could consider doing to support and strengthen the sector. At the very end of the campaign, we hit about 6 events. We saw Governor Mitt Romney. We saw Hillary Clinton in a big event in which she took the question again. And this time her answer became very concrete. She outlined about 3 to 4 things that she would do to strengthen the sector. She talked for about 10 minutes about her history with the sector, how important it is. We also had the same experience with Barack Obama, and at the end of our time bird dogging the candidates, as he saw us ask the questions, he would say, well, I actually now have a nonprofit agenda, I have a platform on my website. At the very tail end, I think the night before the primary, I was at a restaurant and Governor Huckabee walked in and he said, hey, nonprofit lady. So it can escalate very quickly. What was also gratifying and a very good secondary outcome is as you're asking the questions, people in the audience hear the question. We had the governor in the audience of one event. I'm not sure which candidate it was. We had elected officials. We had community leaders. So there's many secondary touches to this event, to this project. Another question I have asked is, I want to respond to, is did our preparation pay off, and were we surprised, or was there any unexpected situations? Our preparation paid off. It paid off in that it gave nonprofit leaders in New Hampshire confidence to do this. We clearly looked at the law. We clearly understood what kind of questions we were going to ask. We had guidelines. We had succinct questions that were non-political. So I think it raised the confidence level of not only nonprofit leaders but their board as they discussed this. I think what also paid off is that we had to be flexible. We realized the candidates were not going to come to us. I don't think it should have been a surprise, but we felt it was a surprise. We thought, wow, we're going to get together 100 people. They'll come to us. But they didn't. They didn't understand the whole sector nature. They understood the arts or the environment groups, or they understand those working for education, but they don't think of us as a whole sector. Trying to think. It was also very exciting to watch the young people that we work with. They got very enthusiastic about this project. They saw how quickly, I think a lot of light bulbs went off as to why advocate. When you can see that with a very focused but not much effort, you can get candidates for the President of the United States to be talking about the nonprofit sector. So this is very replicable. We can do it at the Senate level. We can do it at the local mayoral. We can host people. We can talk about the sector. We can get involved through educational ways. It was great to see all the light bulbs go off about this is what we can do. Will this contribute to making a difference in the sector? Well, it's one, excuse me, it's one small step, and I think it's a good role model for what can happen, and it would be very exciting if 8 or 12 years from now, a President of the United States did include in their inaugural address their plans to strengthen and partner with the nonprofit sector. So yes, I think this is a small step in making a difference. For those of you who are going to have Super Tuesday primaries in your state, I would highly recommend this. It's fairly easy to organize. We have all the guidelines and the questions and the format available. We're very happy to share all this. Please visit our website, which is www.nhnonprofits.org. Take a look at about 9 months worth of discussions with all the candidates about the nonprofit sector. I will look forward to coming to Washington in June when we all gather again and sharing this project with our video, and please call me if you would like any other information about it.